Good evening and welcome to the In the Ring show with your host, Devious Damien, and my broadcast partner, Devastating Deb. And this is our review of tonight's Impact for March 8th, 2012. So we open up with a little video package with Garrett Bischoff arriving to the arena, saying how he appreciated Ric Flair's advice, but he was going to stay in TNA, wasn't going to leave. So after that, we come out, we get the Immortal promo with Eric Bischoff talking about how he asked Sting for a tag match, Gunner and a partner of his choosing, and Garrett would get a partner of his choosing, and Eric Bischoff is wanting to take out Garrett, and he wants to do so through this tag team match. And it turns out that Gunner had chosen Kurt Angle, and Eric Bischoff was praising Ric Flair, saying things like, he tried to get Garrett to leave out of love, out of respect, so on and so forth. So after,
being a kiss ass.
Yeah, basically. So after Kurt Angle comes out, he cuts this little promo talking about how he hates Garrett, disrespecting his father, not listening to his father.
Which you already saw this coming with last week's Kurt Angle thing.
Yeah. Me personally, I'm sorry. I can actually do without being saturated with Garrett Bischoff week after week. I'm sorry. He's getting too much too fast just because of who his father is. That's just my opinion. Because
they needed a storyline.
Yeah.
Or at least they didn't need one, but they thought they did.
Yeah. So then we get a segment with Sting putting on some paint in the mirror, and he's, talking to nobody but himself. Counting down to Victory Road.
He honestly reminded me of Jack Nicholson in The Shining.
Yeah.
Which obviously was awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And then Eric Young comes in, he asks Sting, he wants to make ODB's dreams come true, asks for Sting's blessing. And there's a little bit of an entertaining segment here because he calls Eric Young Bobby, and then he's like, wait a minute, did I just call you Bobby? And then Eric's like, yeah, but that's okay. So then Sting gives ODB and Eric a tag team title match. Now, at first he wasn't clear if it was for the Knockouts title or for the men's tag team title. He wasn't exactly clear. But then after the break, we find out which tag team belts he was talking about, and he was talking about the Knockouts title. So you had ODB and Eric Young against Gail Kim and Madison Rayne for the Knockouts tag title. And wow, this match was... Eric Young starts it off, and of course refuses to hit, either Madison or Gail. ODB tags in.
Starts with them making him look like a total ass again, though.
Yeah, basically. Doing his whole locking up with anybody type deal.
Of course with Earl.
Yeah, with Earl this time. And then, so then ODB's in the ring for a while, she starts getting beat up, then she tags Eric, and then he takes both Madison and Gail on his shoulders, double airplane spin, then they start kind of beating him up a little. Then Eric Young takes off his pants and is wrestling in just these little skinny little trunks. He starts going to do something to Gail Kim, I'm not sure what he's going to do. Madison comes, hits him from behind with the belt. And
in the back of the head.
Yeah, in the back of the head. And the way Eric Young falls on top of Gail Kim to pin her.
Very sexually suggestive.
Yeah, can we say basically dry humping Gail Kim?
Especially with the way she was reacting to it.
Yeah, she was acting like she was getting,
her legs were going like this,
yeah,
like crazy.
No, acting like she was
shaking.
getting raped. It was, and the way they did it, I thought was kind of comical.
It was hilarious,
yeah.
I admit.
Yeah, excuse me for just 1 second. Sorry about that, folks. Charger fell the laptop. Anyway. So, then we get Joseph Park, a.k.a. Abyss, just without the mask and the long hair and everything. He arrives to see TNA wrestlers and officials. Doesn't really say what he's going to do. He
said he was Abyss's brother.
He didn't say that in the first segment, I don't think. I don't think he actually said that he was...
No, maybe not in the first one.
So then...
It doesn't matter.
In another segment, we have Bully Ray telling James stories that are going to make it to Lockdown. And then, after that, we get another little backstage thing where the self-proclaimed greatest man that ever lived, Austin Aries, has an email from Sting how he has to defend his X Division title tonight against Zema Ion.
Of course, they had to again mention about Sting having Twitter and how he's all of a sudden becoming part of the 21st century.
Yeah. So
They've been bringing that up a lot.
So then Austin Aries says, "You're giving away your money match on free TV when I beat Zema Ion tonight. I'm not going to wrestle him at the pay-per-view." So then after the break, we get Zema Ion against Austin Aries for the X Division title. We get a pretty decent match, including a fucking sweet move by Zema Ion where he does like some sort of spinning body press. The end of the match comes when Austin Aries sprays Zema Ion's own hairspray into his eyes.
After Zema Ion had tried to spray him first.
Yeah. Zema Ion tried it first. Austin Aries retaliated. However, unfortunately for Aries, the referee was right there, saw the whole thing. So Zema Ions wins by DQ. So I think that kind of is showing. I think that's like the whole lead-in, making him the official #1 contender.
Yeah.
And now Aries has to defend against him at Victory Road.
Which you should tell everyone you were wrong about your prediction for that match.
Yeah, I actually thought that Zema Ion here was
partially wrong, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I was half right. Yeah, Zema Ion won, but he didn't win the title. I thought he was going to, therefore setting up the rematch at Victory Road. But I think we're still going to get the match at Victory Road. So,
But I think that way would have had more story to it.
Yeah.
It would have had Austin Aries more fired up.
Yeah, that would have had more impact. No pun intended. So then we have Abyss, or as he was calling himself, Joseph Park, asking Velvet Sky about Abyss disappearing. Now, of course, I say a.k.a. Joseph Park, because it really was Abyss, but he's, pretending he's not Abyss, and of course the wrestlers are playing along. So,
Of course, nobody's seen Abyss.
yeah. So
we already knew that.
Yeah, so next we get a Bully Ray promo bragging about taking out James Storm, says he should be the #1 contender for the TNA World Heavyweight title. He calls out Sting. Out comes Sting. Let's see. Sorry, looking over my notes here real quick. Sting comes out, talks about how he feels alive, tells Bully Ray that how, even though he took out somebody that doesn't automatically make him the #1 contender. And then Bully Ray says he wants Bobby Roode. Sting kind of, makes fun of him a little bit. Bully Ray says enough is enough. Quit making fun of me. I want Bobby Roode. So Sting grants his request and says after the break. So after the break, we got Bobby Roode and Sting talking to each other. Bobby Roode saying, "You can't make me defend my title against Bully Ray tonight." And Sting's like, "Who said it was for the title?" And sends Roode out there.
But before that, do they still need to talk about Bully Ray's calves all the time?
Yeah, the whole Calfzilla thing, it's really getting kind of stupid and it's getting kind of old. It's like...
And they're making a huge deal out of it every single show.
Yeah, they are. I don't get it myself, but whatever. So then,
they are impressive, but come on.
Yeah. So Bully Ray and Bobby Roode, a pretty decent match. And I wonder if... I've been noticing Bobby Roode's been using the spear a lot.
Yes.
So it kind of makes me wonder: is he on the edge of losing the World Heavyweight title at Lockdown?
He tried to become a bully tonight, also.
Yeah, he tried using Bully Ray's chain. Yeah, and the reason I make that pun about Edge is because lately when he's been doing the spear, he's kind of been borrowing Edge's mannerisms.
Yes.
Not tonight he didn't, but lately he has been doing the whole getting in the corner, doing Edge's things. So that's why I had to throw that little joke about he's on the edge of losing the World Heavyweight title at
Everyone complains about other people using moves. What about now? I haven't heard anybody say anything yet.
I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem with him using the spear, but when he stole Edge's mannerisms, even that's kind of when I was
That's what I was leading up to.
Yeah. But anyway,
just because Edge isn't in the business now.
Yeah. And so anyway, an okay match. Ended in a no contest because out comes James Storm. He KOs Bobby Roode with the last call super kick, which I thought was pretty cool. So then we get yet another Garrett Bischoff segment talking about the tag match. Says, talk about how it's a high stakes tag match, saying he's confident in his partner. And with the fact that Gunner chose Kurt Angle, I really didn't think it was much of a surprise who Garrett chose, but I'll talk about that in a few minutes.
That was a given.
Yeah.
It really was.
So then, Joe Parks asked Morgan and Crimson about Abyss. They say they know nothing. And then you get a little dissension here between Morgan and Crimson because Crimson blames Morgan for losing the tag belts. But Crimson says, let's just put that behind us. Let's focus on our match tonight between Robbie E and Robbie T. So after the break, we do get that match. Robbie E, Robbie T versus Morgan and Crimson. An okay match. It looked like there was a brief moment there where we actually thought maybe they were going to have Robbie T and Robbie E pull an upset here and win. But then Morgan and Crimson win after Morgan hits the carbon footprint. Crimson tags himself in and, gets the pin.
The win from Morgan.
And of course, Morgan's, getting upset and Morgan's just like, oh, don't worry about it, no big deal.
They're definitely going to be falling out soon.
Yeah, I predict that this is going to be a match at Lockdown. I'm thinking the the split up is going to happen at Victory Road. I just have that feeling. At least if you're going to build this for Lockdown, then you need to break up at Victory Road. Then you can start building it for Lockdown.
Yeah. Agreed.
So then you get an AJ Styles promo talking about a surprise that he has. And then AJ comes out, talks about his 10 years in TNA, talk about all the changes that have happened. Talk about how he's lost friends and so on and so forth. So out come Daniels and Kazarian.
Which you could already tell was going to happen.
Yeah, there was no surprise there. Daniels was saying how his friendship with AJ got him nowhere. It just pretty much, led him down a path of nowhere, getting him fired. Kazarian says AJ is the one with the problem, not everybody else. AJ is a disease. So then AJ says, well, I'm not going to associate with friends anymore. I'm going to associate with, and then, he acts like he's looking for the fans to help, and all of a sudden, you hear the word asshole, and, or asshole, and of course, in Anderson's voice, and out comes Anderson, and the place erupted, and I was happy as shit, too. I
didn't think he'd be coming back yet, but I was more than happy.
Oh, yeah. So then they clear the ring of Kazarian and Daniels.
Now, is TNA going to actually go into more details about why Anderson's been gone, or are they just going to all of a sudden throw him back into the mix and that's it?
In Grand Wrestling tradition, they're just going to try to act like Anderson's absence really didn't happen.
They tend to do that majority of the time.
Yeah, in wrestling, they insult. The only problem I have with wrestling commentators is they tend to insult the fans' intelligence, and they hope that if you don't talk about it, you don't remember it.
And for anyone that doesn't know, he was out for personal reasons.
So then, we get a thing with Garrett Bischoff leaning his little head in a locker room, saying, "You ready?" Talking to his mystery tag partner. Excuse me. So then after that, we get Gunner and Angle against Garrett Bischoff and his mystery tag partner, Jeff Hardy. Not much of a mystery. I mean, Angle and Hardy have been feuding, so it's not really much of a surprise that Garrett chose Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, and I was happy to see him.
Yeah, although I have to admit, though, there was a couple points where I thought Garrett was going to turn heel because he was not... Hardy went for the tag, Garrett wasn't there. I thought maybe like an elaborate ruse, to take out Jeff Hardy.
It was pointing that way, but thank God it wasn't.
Yeah, but, it turns out that Garrett stayed by Hardy's side, and they won the match after Hardy hits the Swanton on Kurt Angle. So now, let's see. Now it's time to grade tonight's TNA Impact episode. I gotta say, all the segments and matches, seem to go somewhere. They didn't really, just throw anything. All the only really useless things they kind of threw in were Abyss playing the part of his brother.
I'll give it a B.
I'll give it a B. It was, even though that stuff was kind of useless, it was still kind of entertaining to watch.
Yeah. By the end, I was starting to get a little,
Yeah,
but it was overall good.
Yeah, I enjoyed tonight's show. I'll give it a B.
And it didn't go real downhill from the beginning, like a lot of them have been.
Yeah. Anderson's comeback really helped, the quality of the show. I mean, I'm not saying it carried it, but it helped big time, in my opinion.
Definitely.
So yeah, we both agree we give it a B. So anybody else who watches, your thoughts down below in the comments. Let me know what you thought of let us know what you thought about TNA. Comments, whatever. Video
Leave the love, the hate.
Yeah, whatever. Video responses are welcome also. Anyway, so for the In the Ring show, this is Devious Damien along with Devastating Deb saying good night, everybody.